So thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks. And today we're going to be introducing some of the new features in QuoteWerks version 5.4 build 1. In this release, we had about 47 new features, 60 fixes, and 12 miscellaneous features, kind of smaller features. So we'll be covering the major ones today, kind of going over those and how you can use those. It's a very short PowerPoint presentation. We're not going to do like a 20-minute PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. Basically, just kind of walk through what to expect today and what we're going to cover, and then go into some detail about the new features. And then we'll also take some questions at the end of the webinar today. If you have a question about something that we discuss, there is a questions box. If you look in the GoToMeeting dashboard, kind of the control center there, if you click on the questions, you can post your questions in there. If I don't answer your question immediately, don't worry. I'm going to come back at the end and answer them. So I'll try to answer as many as I can kind of going through the webinar. But if I skip over yours, maybe yours requires a little bit of explanation, don't worry. I'll come back at the end and go ahead and walk through the answer of those. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get started. So a couple of the integration updates. A lot of times the updates are going to include, especially around this time of year, updates to the new CRM and PSA versions that are released usually before the end of the year. So if you're running the latest version of ConnectWise 2018.6, you want to update to QuoteWerks version 5.4 that includes that integration. Same thing if you're running Sugar CRM 8.2, Maximizer CRM Live 2019. If you're running ACT and ACT for Web version 21, I know they are pushing that update out pretty soon here. So if you need to update to remain compatible with ACT, you can do that also. For those of you that like to stay on the latest and greatest of the Microsoft SQL Server, 2019 is now supported in version 5.4 as well. And then just kind of a miscellaneous feature for those of you that are using Sage 50 US edition for accounting, we have kind of updated the integration, so it's going to run a lot smoother, a lot faster. So it should help with processing times and getting those documents exported over Sage 50. So definitely, if you're using any of those, highly recommend upgrading, as soon as possible. Take advantage of those. All right, so let's get into some of the major features. So one of the first ones is going to be the find feature, or the search and find. This is going to make it really, really easy to quickly search in any open document in QuoteWerks, where you can find specific text, data, numbers, really any way you want to search and find a specific line item in your document, you're going to be able to do that. You can search by any of the columns that are available on your document items workbook, and then you can even cycle through the various results and you can kind of go through them. So search and find is just going to be a really easy way to locate specific items in your document. You can even take advantage like the highlighting feature to mark them that you need to come back to them later, those types of things. So really, really nice feature, really easy to use. So we'll make sure we touch on that and kind of the various features that go along with that functionality. Probably my favorite feature that we added in this build is the ability to sort and organize. I know we've had a lot of people requesting this for a very long time. So what the sort and organize will do is it will allow you to sort on a specific column. So if you want to sort on like the description column, or maybe by the unit price or the unit costs or the manufacturers, or however you want to organize that document, you're able to use the sort and organize feature now just by clicking on the column. You can highlight multiple items or contiguous items or non-contiguous items to include in your sort. We can sort items that are in a specific group. And then we'll actually ignore comments, section headers, subtotals when you're sorting. That way you're not moving those things around the documents, because you probably want to keep those in a specific spot in the document. So we'll actually leave those there. But again, we'll make sure we'll demonstrate this one as well. So it's really easy to use and really functional, so you can kind of get those documents set up the way you want to a lot easier, since that's what a lot of these features are for, just making it easier to work inside of QuoteWerks as well. Group price override. So this is a feature that's been asked for a very long time. And essentially what it does is allows you to manually input the unit price of a group or a bundle. So I know for a lot of you, you might have, or for those of you that are unfamiliar with a group or bundle in QuoteWerks, groups and bundles are basically a calculated field. So QuoteWerks, any item that's in a group or bundle is calculated, and then the group header is going to be that calculated field. A lot of companies want to be able to essentially round it or just pick a whole number instead of having a kind of random number that's accumulated by all their items. So with this feature, you can now override the unit price of that group or that bundle on your document, and very easy. Simply just type in the new number you want to put in, and that's it. The change will actually be distributed among the group members. So basically, we're going to kind of divvy up the difference and change the unit price of all those individual items. So it's kind of still a pseudo calculation field. And I'll show you what that means here in just a few minutes. Once we actually demonstrate the feature, it'll make more sense then. But this is a really nice feature for those of you that have been waiting for this. I know there's quite a few of you in this webinar who've actually been requesting this feature. So that is available now, and that is available in 5.4, where you can take advantage of that functionality. And then bi-directional data link support. So this is a new, again, another big feature where this will allow anyone that is using Autotask, ConnectWise, MS CRM, Sugar CRM, and then we had already previously supported Salesforce. So if you're not familiar with that, then that's already been in there. But essentially what this will allow you to do is write additional field data from QuoteWerks into your opportunity into those various PSA and CRM systems that we have listed here. So again, if you're using Autotask, ConnectWise, MS CRM, Sugar, or Salesforce, we're actually able to push data from QuoteWerks into the opportunity using the DataLink. Previously, the DataLink would only pull additional fields from your CRM or PSA. So you might have like some custom fields or user-defined fields from your systems, and you're pulling that information into QuoteWerks. Well, now we can actually push additional field information into your CRM or PSA. The information that we can push is going to vary by your CRM or PSA, so you might have to do a little kind of trial and error with that and see what's going to work best for you. But I'll walk through actually how to set that up today. The help file is updated with all the instructions on how to do this as well. But like I said, we'll make sure we walk through how do you actually set that up and how you can use it in your installation. And then one of the newer features in QuoteWerks is an integration to ShareWerks. It's a way to communicate collaboratively in a web-based environment. Basically allows you to create kind of like a discussion on a document. We've had a lot of requests to be able to kind of have multiple users that are working on a document, share notes, post comments, attach files, choose who they want to invite on a specific document. So ShareWerks is the answer for that. And we'll go through a kind of brief demonstration on that as well, kind of how that works. But I think you find it's a really, really useful tool, really easy to use, where you'll be able to go directly from QuoteWerks into ShareWerks and vice versa, where you can post comments and attach files and things of those natures. We also added some miscellaneous features today. We updated our surcharges and discounts. So if you're using the payment options in QuoteWerks, we made it a little simpler and updated kind of the verbiage just to make it a little cleaner and make a little more sense about what's being accepted. So like when a deposit's set, it'll actually say, the payment option will actually read as this is the deposit amount rather than a full amount. This is going to be a monthly charge, it's an annual charge. So we added a lot of features and updates for there. We've also included some new Quote Valet updates, which we'll walk through today. Just some minor features, but really, really helpful just to kind of show you who's using Quote Valet. There's like a dismiss all button that's new, so we'll make sure we walk through those. And then for any of you that are using Stripe as your payment or your merchant account, there is now support for Stripe through Quote Valet. So if you're using Stripe for collecting payments in your business, you can now connect it with your Quote Valet account. If you don't have Quote Valet because you were waiting for this, let us know. We can get you set up with a trial account, make sure everything's going to work the way you want it to. So that's available now. And then also we added support for Microsoft Word macro documents. So if you're using or want to use Microsoft Word macro documents for your QuoteWerks layouts or as attachments, those are going to be supported in version 5.4 moving forward as well. As always, if you have questions or need assistance, definitely feel free to give us a call or send us an email. It's a great way to get a hold of us. We do have a ton of videos on the website. We add the new feature videos, as quick as we can up there as well. The help file is updated with every release, so that's always going to be up to date. And then obviously the live and recorded webinars. There's also our users forum. That's a great place to interact with other QuoteWerks users. So if you do have questions or you just want to see kind of how other QuoteWerks users are using features, highly recommend going to the QuoteWerks users forum. and checking that out. And then make sure you are connecting with us on social media, so Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're going to update those every time we have like a new release, every time new videos available, and also our QuoteWerks User Summit's coming up in March. So if you haven't signed up, we still have some spaces available. We did have a waiting list last year, so don't wait till the last minute to sign up if you are interested in going. Go ahead and just sign up. The hotel rooms go pretty fast. So I know it's, just before the holidays here, so we're getting too kind of hectic for everybody. So I'd really recommend jumping on this as soon as possible because it is a finite number that we can host. So just make sure if you are interested in signing up for the User Summit that you go ahead and just get signed up. If you have any questions about the User Summit, let us know. We'd be happy to include all that information for you. It has its own dedicated website, just events.quoteworks.com. If you go there, you can see all the information about it. It has an agenda, pricing, everything that's included there. So it's essentially 2 full days of just QuoteWerks training. There's no, we're not including any like advertisements or anything like that. It's just going to be just QuoteWerks related training and education for the 2 days. So like I said, if you are interested in going, make sure you just sign up sooner than later so you can secure your spot. All right, so let's go ahead and get over into QuoteWerks and we'll start walking through some of those features. All right, so we're going to switch over to QuoteWerks here. All right, so I'm just going to start with an already created document just for our examples today because I want to walk through some of the features that we talked about. So first one's going to be the search and find functionality, or just find. This is going to be accessible 2 ways. You can go to your edit menu and you can click on find, or we have the shortcut of Control F, and that will actually open up the find window. And you can see it is movable, so if you want to move it around, if you want to leave it up in the background kind of while you're working, you can do that. So you can actually move through your document, make changes, and it can just kind of be here in the background. So the way the find works is you're first going to start by selecting your column. So the column can be all the columns, so you can basically search for any information in a column. So for instance, if I wanted to look for, we'll say Cisco, and then click find. So let me know it found it on line number 2 in my document, so line number 2, and then in my description field. And then if I choose find next, it goes to my manufacturer and found that information in my manufacturer. And then if we keep going, you'll see it'll go to line 4, and then it'll basically go through that list. So it's going to go through, let me go back to left here. It's going to go through all those results. Now, if we bring it back up, you can also filter by a specific column. So maybe you're looking for a specific item in your document. You could search by the description field. So when you click on the drop down for your columns, you can obviously just kind of rotate through them. Or if you click on like D on your keyboard, that'll bring you to the first column that starts with a D. In this case would be description. So what I'm looking for, I could then change my operator. So if I'm looking for like an exact match or to not look for something, maybe I have a bunch of items that all start the same, so I'm looking for something very specific, you can put that in there. Maybe I'm making sure that it's not empty, things like that, you can use those as well. So for instance, I wanted to do, okay, let's do contains trip, and you'll see here, it'll actually highlight and bring you to that field immediately that you have entered into your search results. And again, going to let you know, if you want to start your search from the top, that's what this little icon is next to the Find Next button. So if you go through and you get to the bottom of the document, it'll automatically restart. If you want to restart from the top, maybe you had clicked down below and made a change, and then you wanted to restart the search, you can do that. So a little bit of nice functionality there. The other thing you can do is if you want to open up the Find window, when you have the Find window open, you can hold Control and you can actually click on one of the columns, and it'll automatically set that column for you. So for instance, if I wanted to search on the unit cost column, I can hold Control on my keyboard, click unit cost, and you can see here it'll choose my unit cost, and then I can choose my operator and then put in my results. So for instance, if I wanted to look for a unit price that was, let's say, less than $250, and click find, and it'll bring it to our first item here, or our first row here, which would have been our section header. And then we can go through again to our next one, and it'll bring us to line 3, the one that's $92. And again, it's just going to kind of go through as we move forward through those. So again, the find is really easy to use, and it can kind of run in the background for you, so you can kind of just have it open as you're working in your document. It's a really great way to check for any documents or any items that may not have pricing set. So maybe you have to manually set your pricing, or your price modifier wasn't set for some reason. You can go through and you can actually see if you have any items in your document that have a price set of 0, or if it's empty, things like that. So you can go through and always check that information. It's also good to use if you have any kind of like required fields. Maybe you're using other custom fields that you want to make sure that the reps are filling out. You can check to make sure that that information is filled out before they get ready to send the document out. All right, so the find, again, very easy to use, and like I said, probably most of you are used to using Control F to get, open up the find in various Windows applications as well. The other new feature we have that's kind of related to find is going to be the sort and organize. So this will allow us to sort based on the column. So if you just click on a column, you'll see you have the option to sort any of the selected line items. So I only have one selected, so I'm going to cancel out of there, and we're actually going to select all of our line items under our product section here, and then click on the description, and this will sort them in ascending order, or alphabetical order in that case, and you can see it'll update them there. So if we undo that, we'll reset them. Then you also have the option to sort them by descending order, and you simply need to hold Shift on your keyboard. So if you want to sort by ascending, just click on the column with your items already selected. If you want to sort by descending, hold Shift, and you'll see you'll have the option to sort by descending. Click yes, you can do that as well. So if you wanted to sort by maybe like the unit cost, you can click on the unit cost, and it'll sort those items for you. Maybe you want to do it with the unit price instead, we can do that. Maybe you want to sort by descending on the unit price, you can flip those as well. So it gives you a lot of flexibility for sorting those and making those changes. Now, if your items are in a group, so let's go ahead and group these items together. You can actually sort the items within a group. So if I wanted to sort maybe these items, these 4 items here by the description, I can do that, and that'll actually sort within the group as well. So you can sort within the group, you can sort outside of a group. You can even sort items that are non-contiguous. So if I wanted to sort this item here under my services, and we'll select these other items, and then I wanted to sort them by, let's do unit price. Actually, we'll do ascending, descending unit price. That will actually sort those items for you. So you don't have to worry about having the items right next to each other. They don't have to be contiguous. They can be non-contiguous items, and we'll actually sort those for you as well. We won't sort any type of special line items in the document. So your section headers, comment lines, subtotals, things like that. We're only going to sort the actual product and service items that exist on your document, but you are able to sort by pretty much any column that's available on your document items window. And like I said, to sort and kind of move from ascending to descending, simply just need to hold Shift when you're about to click on the column, and that will allow you to do that. All right, so since we have the group header line already set for our particular bundle here, we'll actually go into the next feature, which is the group override. So the group override allows you to overwrite a price of a specific line item in the document. So for instance, if I wanted to say, okay, I'm selling this particular group for $9,000, I just want to round it up to 10, I can go ahead and come in here and put $10,000, hit enter or tab, and you'll see here it'll round it to $10,000. So pretty simple. Now, however, this is still a calculated field. So what QuoteWerks is doing is actually going through and redistributing the difference, which in this case was about $1,000 roughly, between the various items here. So if we undo that and pay attention just to a couple of those items, you'll see QuoteWerks will actually apply the difference to those items. That way we can maintain our calculated field. Now, if you overwrite a group header, one thing to keep in mind is we are going to erase the price modifier. So if you had set a price modifier, we're going to go ahead and remove it because we are essentially recalculating that field for you. The other important note when you are using the group override functionality is that the larger the number, the more of a difference essentially will be applied to it. So we don't apply the difference in the difference between the new number and the previous group header line equally. It's not going to be shared equally between the items. We try to keep the items as close to their original price as we did before. So there's actually some complex math going on in the background where we're doing a percentage based on weighted amount that it makes up in that bundle. So there's actually a lot of complex calculations for it, but again, it does make it easy for you to go through and just simply apply what you want to purchase for that particular group or that particular bundle in your document. It's not going to affect anything else, just like anything else you have on your document items tab. Once you have the group or the bundle on your quote in QuoteWorks, it's not going to update your bundles automatically or anything like that. It's not going to affect any other documents. It is only going to be for this specific group or bundle that you have on the document already. Okay, so next one I want to talk about is the bi-directional DataLink support. So we kind of touched on this earlier. For those of you that are not familiar with the DataLink, essentially the DataLink allows you to pull additional data or fields from your CRM or PSA in to QuoteWorks when you pull on the Sold to Ship to tab. So for most of you, if you're using the, we'll just go ahead and we'll use Salesforce here. So typically you would click on your CRM or PSA. It would already be highlighted in your setup. So whichever CRM or PSA you're integrated to with QuoteWorks. And then you would click on DataLink Setup. And then the DataLink setup may already be set up, or you may already have one in there. And typically it's going to be retrieved on the sold to. And what that means is that when you pull in your contact from your CRM or PSA system, it's going to pull in a specific field that you map. So you're actually going to go through field mappings to determine what data you want to pull from, in this case, Salesforce, and pull that information into QuoteWorks. So what we've added now is the ability to also push data into Autotask, ConnectWise, MSCRM, Salesforce, and Sugar. So if you're using any of those, you'll actually be able to push data from QuoteWorks into your CRM opportunity that QuoteWorks is creating. Now, if you're not using any of those, you can still use the DataLink functionality to pull additional fields. So you can just go to your setup and you'll just be able to pull only instead of pull and push. So to use the DataLink, we'll go ahead and we'll click on our gold button there. And then basically you're going to choose what the option is going to be. So in this case, you can see there's an option for op header and op item. And basically it's just for saying opportunity header or opportunity items. This is telling QuoteWorks which fields or which table you're going to push from QuoteWorks into your CRM opportunity. So we have the option of pulling from the header table in QuoteWorks or the item table. The header table is going to be your document specific information. So this would be information like on the Sold to Ship to tab, the Sale Info tab. So maybe you have like contract date set that you want to push in, anything from the notes, maybe your custom text. That's probably the most going to be the most common one where you have you're using some of those custom fields on the custom tab and you want to push some of that information into your CRM opportunity. You'll have the ability to do that. So we'll go ahead and we'll select opportunity header here. And then you'll see your options that are available here. So in this case, we'll select Salesforce. And then you're actually going to choose write out to external system. The other option is to read into QuoteWorks. So this is if you wanted to pull data from, in this case, Salesforce into QuoteWorks, then we would select this option. If you're using one of the other CRMs like Act or Goldmine or Outlook or something like that, you're only going to have the option to read into. For those of you that are not, obviously you'll have the option to write out to the external system, which in this case would be QuoteWorks. Once that's selected, you can actually go through and you can see a list of the available QuoteWorks fields. So these are all the QuoteWorks fields that are available. So for our example, if we wanted to say, maybe we'll pull one of the custom text fields in just to make life easy. So we would say we want to push custom text 01, which is on the custom tab in QuoteWorks 2, and then you actually get to pick which field you want this to populate in the opportunity of your CRM or PSA. Now, based on your selection, fields are going to be different because obviously all the CRM and PSAs are different. So you'll just see a list of the available fields here. So for our example, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll say it's our account ID that we want to populate. and then I can hit OK. And then you'll see a list of all of your data links here, and that's it. And then the data link is actually going to happen naturally. There's nothing you need to tell QuoteWerks to do extra. It's actually going to happen automatically. So on anything that we're pushing will be done when we're creating or updating the opportunity. So when you hit save, so let's go here. Let's go ahead and pull in a company. So we'll pull in our company here. And then when we hit save, you'll see there's actually no other checkbox or anything that you need to tell QuoteWerks to do. The data link is going to happen automatically. So it's basically going to automatically push this data from QuoteWerks, whatever is set. In this case, what we said our custom text 01. Let me just rename this back. So whatever's set here in our custom text 01, that's what we're going to push back into our Salesforce. And I think it was our account ID field that we chose. The DataLink feature pulling from Salesforce was doing the same thing, where it actually populated, in this case, our custom text 01. So we'd be sharing the same data back and forth. But like I said, the really nice thing about this feature is you don't have to trigger anything. You don't have to remember to set anything. It's all going to happen through the integration automatically. So in this case, once we hit OK, that will actually create the opportunity in Salesforce, and then it would write the information over into Salesforce. You can have essentially as many data links as you'd like. So you can have multiple ones, and you can use them both. You can use the ones that pull the information from Salesforce, and you can use the ones that will also push it from Salesforce, or from the other CRMs and PSA systems as well. So it's up to you how you want to set that up. The important thing to remember is that if you're pulling a lot of data, or if you're pushing a lot of data, obviously QuoteWerks has to parse through that, so it may take a minute. So just keep that in mind if you start to really heavily use and utilize the data link functionality. And these are going to be site-wide settings. So when you set this up, you're setting this up for everyone in your organization. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so we have that set. The next thing I want to talk about is ShareWerks. So for those of you that are upgraded to 5.4, you may notice that on your Notes tab, you actually have a new button here. It says Discuss with ShareWerks. So the reason it's on the Notes tab is because the Notes is supposed to be a way to kind of essentially put notes for yourself, but also if you're collaboratively working with other users in your installation, you might want to leave notes for them as well. There's not a great way to do that and to kind of keep track of everything organically in QuoteWerks. So that's why we developed ShareWerks, where ShareWerks will actually let you share that information with other users in your essentially group, or whoever you invite to be part of this discussion. So show you how it works. It's going to be pretty simple. But basically, for every document that you create will essentially become a discussion or a topic. So if I click on Discuss with ShareWerks, that'll actually open up this discussion window. And for any of you that are using Quote Valet, it's going to look kind of similar to that. There's a little more functionality as far as like formatting and things like that. But it kind of is going to have a similar format, so it kind of makes sense. And this will allow you to essentially add notes, comments. So here I've already added a comment, and then you can invite other users. So you can actually choose who you want to include as part of this topic and this discussion. That way, only the relevant people or companies or contacts in your company are part of this particular discussion. And then they can share notes about, maybe they went on site somewhere and they want to post those notes in here about this specific document. And it's all going to be related to this specific document that you've created in QuoteWerks. And you'll see you'll actually have a link to open this document directly in your QuoteWerks desktop. So if you're going through multiple documents and you have a question about exactly what document it is, you can actually click on the link and it'll take you back to that QuoteWerks document. So if I click on it, I open QuoteWerks document, and it'll bring me back to QuoteWerks. So it's a very quick link. It'll bring me back here so that I could come through here and review it and see kind of what's going on with that particular document. Now, if we flip back here and let's go to the home page actually. So if we go back to the home page, you'll actually see a list of essentially all your projects down here. So you'll have a list of all projects, my projects, and also shared projects. So this would be if you've been invited on to another project with other users. My projects would be where you have ownership of those particular projects. So same thing where I have just some QuoteWerks documents, and then I have these two various documents. And then anyone that is included in these, I can see them here. I can actually see the topic invitees. And if I click on it, it'll actually show me who's been invited and who's part of this discussion. And then I can invite other users if I wanted to. You can always just type in an email address instead of actually having to go through the entire formal invite process. And then they'll be able to actually post comments in here as well. And then you can add attachments. And that's where a lot of the power is really going to come from, is where users can actually go through and attach documents, attach information, post comments, anything like that. And you'll receive email notifications when a post is updated. So when comments are made, when attachments are included, you'll receive an email notification very similar to Quote Valet, where it'll let you know, hey, this was updated, this was included, and then you can click on the link and it'll bring you to the proper discussion, or the proper topic, so you can view the discussion and kind of see what's going on and get caught up. You'll also be able to see like filter by, specifically in your inbox, recent posts, and anything that's been shared with you as well. So you can kind of go through those various options, but probably spend most of your time kind of in the project section here. And you can have multiple projects. So you can create new projects for specific, parts of your division or kind of whatever you're using QuoteWerks for. So, and every document, like I said, is going to be linked separately. So you'll actually be able to create a ShareWerks topic for each document you create in QuoteWerks. If you're interested in seeing more, there is a demo video available on the ShareWerks website. So if you just go to ShareWerks.com, scroll down about halfway through the page, you can actually see a video that'll do a more formal demo for you, kind of like a 10-minute kind of setup and kind of go through exactly what everything means, the vocabulary, and kind of walk you through that. So fortunately, we don't have too much time to do that today, but just kind of wanted to bring this up because you're going to start seeing this on your Notes tab in QuoteWerks once you upgrade to version 5.4. So there are some setup instructions in the QuoteWerks help file about this. Basically, under Tools Options is where you would set up your account for your QuoteWerks installation. And then each user that you want to have access to QuoteWerks, they're just going to need to put in their user credentials under the Tools My Preferences window. So there'll actually be a new ShareWerks tab for each of your users as well. So, and you can specify who's going to be included and who's not in your account. You'll have full control over that. So that's something that you can set up. Okay, so last couple things wanted to mention were some of the miscellaneous features, for Quote Valet have been added. A couple of these have been requested for quite a bit of time, so I wanted to go through those. So the first one is the Quote Valet dashboard. So if we click on the Quote Valet dashboard here, you'll see there's actually a new Dismiss All button here at the top for your inbox. So that's very useful if you need to go through and you actually need to dismiss the notifications for a specific user, whether it's yourself or another user. You can actually click on that specific icon or that button there, and that will actually dismiss any of the notifications for that user. Just makes it really easy to go through, and that way you can kind of clear out your inbox. For those of you that have Quote Valet and are not using the inbox functionality, the inbox functionality is supposed to include, is typically going to include the information like kind of your living, breathing documents inside of Quote Valet. So which documents are being viewed, which ones have been accepted, which ones have been paid. Basically any documents that kind of need your attention or need action. Those are what's typically going to be in your inbox. But if you haven't started there, instead of having to go through and dismiss each one individually, you can just use the Dismiss All button, and that will dismiss them all for you. The other thing I wanted to mention about Quote Valet, the ability to see under your Utilities Show Logged In Users window, you can actually see if someone has last used Quote Valet. So you'll actually be able to see, let me see here. Yeah, so we can actually see the last time the Quote Valet license was validated. So it was just a minute ago when I opened up my inbox. So you can see that. We're also going to show you that information in Quote Valet Insight, which I think is a little bit more useful. So if we go to our Quote Valet dashboard here, and then I open up Quote Valet Insight, and we go to our admin, and then we go to our usage monitor, we're actually going to include that information today where users are going to be able to see that, see who logged in, if they were able to log in, you know, if it was successful, if it was not successful, those types of things. So you'll actually be able to see that information now, which is incredibly helpful. So you can see actually who's using Quote Valet, who's not using Quote Valet, how many, you know, maybe you need more licenses, maybe you need fewer licenses. Just that information is readily available for you. So just makes things a little bit easier inside of QuoteWerks for you. And then also we do have the ability to send you email notifications. I don't have like a screenshot of this or anything, but basically now you can set QuoteWerks up where you can actually receive email notifications based on how many times a user has viewed a quote. So we never used to show you like this was the third time, fourth time, fifth time. We just say, you know, customer viewed the quote for the first time, and then we typically wouldn't send an email notification for every time they viewed the document, but it is something we can turn on for you. So if you are interested in receiving an email every time customer views the document, that is a feature that we can turn on for you. So just contact the support team or the sales team, and that's something that's just a setting on our side that we can turn on for you so you can have that. Just be aware that if you have customers that view quotes, you know, 60, 70 times, you're going to get 60, 70 emails. So that's why we don't have it on by default, because we know a lot of users, you know, a lot of times you send a quote to a customer and they view it or they refresh it constantly, and you're going to get an email for each of those because they are technically a view. So just keep that in mind, but it is something we can also turn off if we have to as well. So that'll be available. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm see that there's quite a few questions, so I'm going to jump through as many of these questions as we can. Again, if there's something that you didn't see and you do have questions about, definitely check out our updates page. That is actually something that I wanted to mention, make sure everyone is aware of. Under our QuoteWerks homepage, if you go to support, and then if you click on updates, you can actually see a full list of all the updates that QuoteWerks has released, and we'll always have the latest version of the software on the kind of like the update page home screen here, and you can click on view feature list, and that'll show you a list of all the features that are available in this specific release. There also is a search functionality here, so you can actually search within this particular window, and you can search for a specific feature in the window, and that will actually let you search to see if something, you know, that you've been waiting on, maybe there was a version update that you were looking for or something like that. You can do that as well. And then we do have this customer area also, which is a good place for information to see like new features, get a kind of like summary about what's new, what's come out previously. If there's a feature video attached to it, usually the help file topic will be there, so it'll bring you right to it. So anything that you've seen today, if you want more information, that's a great place to look for it as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the questions, and if you do have additional questions, go ahead and start posting those in the questions and I'll get to them. For those of you that don't have any questions, like I said, we did record this webinar, so we will send out the video probably next week once we get it on the website, and that'll be available for everyone to review. So for those of you that have questions, just stick around and we'll go ahead and we'll start answering those. For those of you that don't have questions, thanks for attending, and we'll hope to hear from you soon. Okay, so I'm just going to, like I said, go through the questions here, and we'll kind of walk through just kind of as they came in. All right.